Episode Grenada, which is on a live audience. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for being part of the first ever DMs on the outside. Now we're back with a couple more questions, Mr. Prime Minister, and I'm sure you've heard frequently from returning nationals different challenges they may have. How is the government addressing them?
So I think first, it's part of the cultural challenge. If you live in a society that's much larger, much more organized, coming back to island life requires, in a sense, an adjustment to what has happened. And having the diaspora desk, I think, is one of the reasons for setting this up, because you do have cultural nuances that you have to sometimes adjust back. That's one. The second challenge, I think, oftentimes is the services that members of the diaspora experience, apart from the public service protocols. It's business and it's for the diaspora, and ensuring that over time we can train our public officers, train our public servants to make them understand, just like tourism, service is everybody's business. And having service standards, having specifications, ensuring that the staff is trained to return your calls, to answer, to follow, to explain what's happening is part and parcel of the public service transformation that has to happen. Unfortunately, because of the challenges we face in the public service, it will take a little longer than we would like it to be, because we have to settle a lot of deep-seated grievances within the public sector, and we're still seeking to do so. And then the next stage is to really make sure that the public service becomes service-oriented, becomes service-driven, and that they appreciate that the public actually needs to receive top-class service just as they get in the private sector. I think that's one of the second things that I guess we get complaints about. And then the third one would be the modernization of, I think, government services itself. And that means moving a lot of this on digital platforms that can allow the diaspora and citizens at home to be able to have access to government services 24/7. And that eliminates a lot of the personal biases you find when human beings are left to make decisions about whether to process your file quickly or not. So digitizing a lot of the services, whether it's passport services, whether it's tax filing services, are all part and parcel of what the government is currently embarking upon, so that we can make a lot of these services a lot more affordable, a lot more accessible, and actually a lot more efficient, both from a government perspective and from the citizens' perspective. So those are three main areas that we are working on. And then the fourth, I think, is making sure that we are a lot more specific in terms of where we think the diaspora could play a meaningful or critical role. And we've begun to identify this. For example, housing. That's one area that I think the diaspora is clearly interested in. It's one area where there's a huge opportunity, and making sure that we can build up the infrastructure and the structure to channel the requests, to channel the interest, whether it's from an investment or from a consumer point of view, that goes. So that is part of the reason for having the diaspora coming. We can have those conversations and then coming out with that, create the structures that will allow us to have more seamless integration of the diaspora into Canadian culture and what is happening.
You know what I really wish one day? That I ask you a question and you say, I don't have an answer.
I thought I've done that before, but okay, well, I'll try.
Yeah, this is that one. Now, how can members of the diaspora contribute their skills, expertise, and networks to support Grenada's transformation or Grenada's development agenda?
I could say I don't have an answer.
But you will give an answer.
Well, I think they're doing so already. I talked about the examples of serving on the statutory bodies and boards. A second area I would think is mentorship, particularly at the secondary and high school level. I know of some persons in the diaspora who have already taken an approach of adopting schools so that they can actually, whether they're on vacation, and you don't have to come for that purpose, but if you're visiting family and friends, for example, you can dedicate a day or two of your time to visit our schools, to take on mentorship with students, with teachers, with principals, with parents, particularly to make sure that the children will understand that there is no limit, or there ought not be limits to their ambitions. So I think successful Grenadians, one of the critical things you can do is be a hero to a young Grenadian, be an inspiration to a young Grenadian, because that is what kids want. They want to emulate someone. And so when they meet someone who's successful, who's traveled the world, but who's still humble and who's still prepared to come back and give back to Grenada, I think that's one of the greatest things persons in the diaspora can do. Certainly, I think, leave a memorable impression on the kids, and you probably find that when they become successful, they will tell you the stories of someone who they interacted with that inspired them, that allowed them to dream and to aspire to be successful. So that's one area that I think the diaspora can help with. The other area I would pay particular attention to is education. And I would say in basic things like math and literacy. That's the challenge currently on the island. Many of the kids are not reading at the levels they should be reading at, and math is a serious challenge. There is one example of a Grenadian who's already back and has created a math lab in Woodlands, and I've been supporting him to work with 2 of the secondary schools in St. David to ensure that he can give back and help to train the teachers, but also work directly with students, improving their approach to math. So there are examples of this that I think can be replicated throughout the island. So I'm not talking here about the investment or the economic aspect, but I think just the human development, the human capacity side, there are significant opportunities for assistance in those areas.
Fantastic. We are just about ready to get into the next segment, but before we do, we have to take another quick break, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll be right back with our DX on the street.
Alright guys, so let them know, like, share, subscribe if you're enjoying the video. We just was behind the scenes right now, PM live at Radisson. So yeah, if you're enjoying this video, like, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications. See you in the next one. Take care.